and had a sour disposition that occasionally the right person could crack and make him smile. I was rarely that person. At the moment, he wasn't pleased with me at all. There were very few things my father enjoyed less than being around large groups of people. Hundreds of people invading his sleepy farm was his worst nightmare. My father wore a black stocking cap that was pulled down over his bushy gray eyebrows. The cap gave him a bandit-like appearance. He glowered at me. "How on earth are you going to feed all these people?" It was a good question. My fawn-colored pug, Huckleberry, stood at my father's feet and cocked his head as if he considered this too. Then he glanced around with his wide-eyed pug stare. It looked like his round brown eyes might just pop out of his head. I leaned over and scooped up the pug and hugged him close. I knew when my dog needed comfort. Maybe I needed some too. Dad shook his head. "You've turned the farm into a circus." "Dad, this is great PR." My voice was a tad shaky. "Not if these people go home hungry. I'd say that's terrible PR. In fact, that's the worst PR that you can get. I don't know what it's like in California, but when someone shows up at an event in Michigan, they had better not leave with an empty belly, or there will be hell to pay. I can tell you that." I glanced at the food table that was becoming sparse. When the festival began 2 hours ago, it had been piled high with plastic containers and bakery boxes of my organic baked goods. I used the festival as an opportunity to test my organic recipes. I had always loved to bake, especially with my grandma Bellamy while growing up, but when I had been in LA, I had little opportunity. Too many people in the Golden State avoided carbs, myself included. Since returning to Michigan, my passion for baking had returned, and I had wild dreams of someday having a bakery and cafe on our property that would serve real, organic, farm-to-table fare that was produced right here on Bellamy Farm. The dream was a long way off, but the festival was a start, and I had truly believed it was a good start until it began. I thought I had baked enough for the 2 days of the festival. There were over 300 items ranging from cookies to muffins to cakes, but it would never be enough. My assistant, Chesney Stevens, made a face at me. She was a tall and strong woman in her late 20s with brown hair that just brushed the top of her shoulders. She always wore a cloth headband to hold that hair back from her face. Chesney was a graduate student whom I had hired a few weeks back when I realized I couldn't do everything I needed to at the farm myself. She only worked as much as I could pay her, which admittedly wasn't a lot, but having her help for the 10 to 15 hours a week I could afford made a huge difference. She was the perfect candidate for the job. She was getting her MBA with a concentration in agricultural business at my old alma mater in Traverse City, but lived right here in Cherry Glen. She rented a small house in town with her younger sister. The little money I could pay her would help her get by and supplement the stipends she received from the university for her graduate program. It all sounded too good to be true, so being me, I expected that it was. Imagine my happy surprise when she turned out to be just who she said she was. There was no way I could have pulled off fall days without Chesney's help. The last few weeks, we worked tirelessly to make the worn-down farm presentable for this big event, and now it might be ruined because people would go home hungry. Swallowed. "I have enough apples to make more apple cider," I told my father, "and I've called in reinforcements. They should be here soon. There's more to fall days than food. There's the corn maze, yard games, and the hayride. Plenty for everyone to do while they wait to eat. Don't worry, Dad. I've got this handled." "Looks like you do," he muttered and shuffled away. I sighed and went back to Chesney at the food table. Chesney handed a customer her change. "Enjoy your cherry strudel," she said with a bright smile. The customer walked away. Chesney whispered to me. The person in line considered what was left on the table.